to the Five-Star Revolution podcast. I am your host, CJ Price. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do so right now. Subscribe to the Five-Star Revolution podcast on YouTube and go to our Facebook page, Five-Star Revolution Podcast. Share the page and like the page. And tonight we have a very special guest, and his name is Thorne the Hunter. How you doing tonight, sir?
Well, I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing very good, and thanks once again for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join us here tonight.
Well, no problem. Just got off work. It's about stormy out here. It's raining, but good to go. I'm excited. It's my first podcast, so excited to do this.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on your first podcast.
Thank you.
So let's start from the beginning here. I always ask this question to everyone that comes on here. How'd you become a wrestling fan, or how'd you get into the wrestling business?
All right. I became a fan because my grandmother, she was a fan back in the Mid-South days. I don't know how familiar you are with Mid-South wrestling, like in the territory days. She actually used to make wrestling gear for quite a bit of the wrestlers. She made wrestling gear for Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ted DiBiase, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, the Road Warriors, I think the Ultimate Warrior, maybe Sting. She made a lot of wrestling gear for those guys because they would run in Oklahoma quite a bit. And whenever I was born, she was always still a fan. She was making gear for guys that were in the Indies, I believe, possibly still some of those guys that were in Mid-South. And my older brother, he was a huge wrestling fan as well. And I remember I knew I began watching wrestling at like 6 years old, around like 2002. Those are my first early memories of wrestling. And I always used to be in my older brother's room. I'd always watch whatever he watched on TV. And he forced me to watch wrestling. And at first I didn't want to, but then as soon as I began watching it, I was immediately hooked. And it's something I've always loved ever since.
So, how'd you get into the business? Where'd you initially train at?
All right, that's another thing. My grandmother was friends with a wrestler named Rick Garrett, who was a wrestling promoter here in Oklahoma. He's not a promoter anymore. I think he works for the Wrestling Commission. My dad got in contact with him, and he set me up to get some training. I trained with people who he had trained me for about 7 months, and I feel like I wasn't learning anything. So I said, screw it. I quit training for a little bit, and I convinced my dad to buy me a wrestling ring. So I got myself and a few of my friends, and we kind of put together a really, really crappy wrestling fed that we had on YouTube. It's Canadian Valley Wrestling if you ever want to watch and cringe. I still watch it every now and then and get a good laugh out of it, the stupid stuff we did. But we did that for 2 or 3 years, and I ran into someone who recognized me from wherever I trained at a Monday Night Raw that I took my younger brother to, and he offered to train me and my friends. So first he began training us in my backyard since I had a ring. He taught us some stuff there. Then eventually he got his own ring in his own building and kept training under him. And me and only one of my other friends stuck around throughout the whole way, and me and him debuted about a year apart from each other. Actually, no, it's just a few months from each other. I debuted February of 2017. I think he debuted in like August of 2017. Yeah, we trained under him, and then yeah, that's how I got into it. I began when I very first started training, I was 15, and then we did the few years off doing the backyard wrestling stuff, and then I eventually made my debut when I was 20.
So I noticed that you have a little accent. Are you originally from Canada?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Uh, my accent is not identified. Do not
Okay.
identify where I'm from. I currently live in Oklahoma, but I am not telling you where I'm exactly from.
Okay, not a problem, man.
Keep,
Not a
keep,
problem.
keep a little mystery. All right.
So, wrestling in Canada for your first few years.
I'm not
Um,
from Canada.
yeah, but you said that you wrestled in Canada, right?
No, I'm from Oklahoma.
You said you had a Canadian wrestling fed. The
No,
Backstage.
Canadian Valley Wrestling was the name. That's a county here in Oklahoma.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I see why you think I'm Canadian now. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Canadian Valley is the county that we're from here.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't know that. I'm not from Oklahoma, so
Yep. Okay. Sorry. I probably should have made that more clear.
it's all right, man. No problem, no problem. So, for the fans who don't know who Thorne the Hunter is, can you explain a little bit about who Thorne the Hunter is and what he does in the ring?
Yeah, I'm a big game hunter. That means I have hunted animals, kept their trophies. As you see in my wrestling gear, you'll see tiger fur around my uh, shoulder bicep area. Um, when I first began the hunter, being the hunter, I also wore like zebra skin around my waist on my tights. Um, I have snakeskin boots. Uh, really bring out the character, bring it to life. Actually, my entrance vest is actually back here. I got my fur. There's the hunter on the back, made out of leather. Some fur on there. I'm a big game hunter, and what I do in the ring, I've studied the likes of Chris Benoit. I've loved his intensity in the ring. I loved his character. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, along with him, Eddie Guerrero. Um, they always shown a lot of intensity in their matches, also in their promos, and that's something I liked to take and make it a part of what I do in the ring. I like to show a lot of intensity and make everything I do look like it hurts like hell.
So, piggybacking on Chris Benoit, I know a lot of people see it's taboo to talk about it in the world of professional wrestling, but me
Yeah.
personally, what he did in his personal life, that's totally not to do with professional wrestling.
Of
But
course.
what he did in the ring was incredible. He was probably top three wrestlers of all time when it comes to wrestling in the ring.
Yes, he was
And
great.
you saying that you take after him, I have a lot of respect for that because that guy went hard 100% of the time.
Of course, whenever I study wrestling, I like to study a lot of his matches. I've also liked to study Edge, Randy Orton. I've studied quite a bit of people I grew up watching wrestling, who I watched while I was growing up.
So, since you started being a professional wrestler, would you say that professional wrestling has changed your life? If so, how?
Mm, changed my life. I mean, I, I travel a lot more than I did before. Because usually I just go to school, work, be at home, work out. But it seems like every other weekend now I'm in another state, another town. I feel like I'm quite a bit more busy now than I was before. So in that sense, yeah, um, I've always worked out. I've always loved being in the gym. So when it comes to that, it hasn't changed much. And I've played sports my entire life, so I'm used to being an athlete. Um, but it's mostly just the travel and stuff that's changed, and I guess having fans now, people who like want my autograph, they like see a picture, like when I sell pictures, when I sell merch, it's different. Uh, People coming up to you and like wanting you to sign your name on like a photo of yourself, and they just take it home and do whatever with it. That's always something that's I always thought was kind of different. I like it, of course. I like having fans and all that stuff, but those things are probably the first two things that come to mind when it comes to things that changed my life.
And what goes through your head before a match? What's that feeling before you go through the curtain?
Oh, I'm gonna go out there and rip the guy's head off. Of course, always on the hunt.
So, what's your ultimate goal in this professional wrestling business? Where do you want to go?
definitely I want to be signed. I'd love to be signed. I'd like to go to either AEW, WWE, or Impact. And yeah, I'd love to get a tryout match for AEW eventually. Show up on Doc. Hopefully, I can do that within the next year or so. That'd be my top goal at the moment.
If you ever showed up to AEW, would you come back on the podcast?
Oh, of course. Got a lot of podcasts by then.
um, have you won any titles in your career?
Oh yes, I won Federation here in Oklahoma. I've won the All Star Pro Championship. I've won the Tag Team Championship there as well. I've also won the Tornado Alley Championship for Prairie Championship Wrestling in Hutchinson, Kansas. And those are all championships I've won so far.
So, what would you say is the proudest moment of your career thus far?
My proudest moment would be either wrestling in front of my friends and family when I made my debut. I also had a title defense. One of my first title defenses the day before my 21st birthday. Was probably in front of the biggest crowd I performed in front of. Was probably like at that time at least was 400 or 500. It's from my friends and family. They all came out the day before my birthday, so they all wanted to come see me wrestle. And another was having my match against Johnny Cove, who is one of the guys that I did backyard wrestling with. I mentioned earlier, who followed me all throughout the training. Having matches with him is something I always enjoy.
Who's your dream opponent?
Dream opponent? Oh, I have a lot. Unrealistically, if I can go like unrealistic, that would probably be the Undertaker. He'd be a dream opponent of mine. And realistic at the moment, I'd love to wrestle Cody Rhodes eventually. Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, John Cena. Those are all dream matches of mine. I've always loved watching them. I was always a huge Cody Rhodes fan too. Even when he was in the WWE, I always liked him. And even more so in AEW. But yeah.
So, what would you say you learned from professional wrestling that you carry on in your life?
Oof. That's a hard one. What have I learned? I mean, you just gotta find the right groups of people to hang around, you know? You gotta, I don't know. I made some pretty good friends in professional wrestling. Much closer than I made before I started wrestling, you know? Yeah, I'm not sure. That's kind of a hard question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I learned quite a lot yet from professional wrestling. I mean, you always gotta know to bust your ass, do everything you can. If you're gonna do something, then you gotta put your heart all into it. We'll go with that one. We'll go with that answer.
All right, let's revise that question. What about since you started wrestling? How long you been wrestling?
4 years now.
Okay, so 4 years. Since day one, what would you say to that guy today?
Oh, just keep going. Keep going. I mean, I'd probably tell him to get the gimmick thing sorted out first, because when I first started, I had trouble with that, getting a character together. That's what held me back the most. Was I didn't know what to do when I was out there in the ring. I just looked like everybody else. I dressed like everybody else. So I'd probably tell him find the way to stand out and just keep busting your ass. Doing good so far.
Would you say your character is a heel character?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And how do you like being a heel?
Oh, I love it. I can't stand being a face. So much easier being a heel, going out there and just yelling at people and beating the hell out of my opponent. Love it. Being a face, I've done it before, but it's just not the same for me. I'm more naturally a heel in real life, so.
Okay. All right. So, what's your workout plan? How do you stay in shape for wrestling?
Well, I'm always at the gym, like I said. I have a college degree in exercise science, so I know quite a bit about weightlifting, dieting, and all that. Um, I've always been in sports. I've always been in the gym very, very consistently since at least seventh grade. Like I can't remember a time I've gone more than maybe 3 weeks without going to the gym. So I'm always in there very consistently, and still I go at least 4 days a week for about an hour, and it's all strength training. Uh, the most of the conditioning I do, like cardio, is when I do wrestling training. Everything else is just strength. Just to build up the size, Gotta try to get bigger, as big as I can.
So how do you handle backstage politics at four when you're 4 years in? You're still kind of brand new to the business. So how do you handle backstage politics?
Well, kind of like I said earlier, to stay with like the right people. I've made some really good friends that I can trust in this business. Um, you just gotta stay in the right crowd. Don't don't get involved in the backstage politics. I try to stay away from all that. I don't. I show up, I do my job, get paid, and leave for the most part. But backstage politics, it's not really something you can escape from most of the time, unless you just try your best just to completely avoid it. But it happens. It is part of the business.
How do you deal with those veterans that quote unquote don't want to do the job?
I honestly haven't been a part of that quite a bit. No one's ever really done that for me or to me. Like it's really not something I've ran into. Really, I feel like that might be something in other places, but that's something I've really encountered yet.
All right. Um, so you mentioned that you want to go Impact, AEW, WWE. Besides that, is there any other independent wrestling promotions that you have your eye on that you want to go to?
Yes, VIP Wrestling in Dallas, Texas. I don't know if you heard of them or not. They're doing very well. JTG is actually their world champion right now.
Okay.
Remember him from Crime Time back in the day. Um, they always put on good shows. I've attended a few, and their crowd is amazing. They put on hell of the shows. They have a lot of talent on their roster. Um, DFW, also down in Dallas, a lot of young talent there. I think that's their student show, but all the workers there that I've seen doing a hell of a job. I've also seen quite a few of them debut on AEW Dark recently. Um, Joni Journey Pro Wrestling down in Missouri is another one I've kept an eye on, and I've actually got in contact with the promoter from this weekend when I was in Kansas, so I may be debuting there here pretty soon.
So 4 years in the business, how does a guy like you try to get into those type of promotions that are bigger than where you are now?
You just got to promote yourself, get yourself out there, messaging the promoters, um, make friends, make connections. Game Changer Wrestling is another one I forgot to mention. Uh, I'm sure you've heard of them, Game Changer.
Yes.
I'd love to work for them. I know a few people that have here recently. Um, but making the right friends is another thing. You just gotta still stick their they put their name out there for you and make connections. Promote yourself as best as you can. Let the promoters see what you can do is a big thing when it comes to branching out, making a bigger name for yourself. Got to
Okay.
promote.
So besides the wrestler that you already mentioned, that you have want to have a dream match, I think you said Taker and a few other guys. Is there any indie wrestlers that you want to get in the ring with?
Yes, Fuego del Sol.
Okay, I know who he is.
Yes, he's one of my friends. I yet to have a one-on-one match with him. Getting getting pretty big out there. Need to take him down a few pegs, Maybe take his mask off. Take trophies. Shut
Have
down.
Have you been backstage with any legends or anything like that?
Yes, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I've been backstage with him a few times. Uh, Funny enough, him and my grandma actually used to date back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been backstage with Duggan, Chavo Guerrero. I think of him as a legend. Um, Ricky Morton. Um, let's see. I know there's more. I can't think of all of them right now off the top of my head. I know Ricky Morton, Jim Duggan, Chavo. Uh, I can name some wrestlers, some other quite a few other wrestlers I've been backstage with. I've met Carlito, Mickey James. Um, sorry, there's quite a bit. I've been around. I've been around a few years, so
So,
I met quite a few.
so sharing the backstage with those type of names, do you get to pick their brain or ask them questions?
Yes. Sometimes I'm a little too nervous to walk right up to them and start asking them questions. I know they probably get that a lot because everyone typically back there kissing their ass or asking a million questions. So typically, I want to get in the habit of doing it, but so far I haven't asked too many questions from many people. But next time I'm in the locker room with someone, I'd like to start picking their brain.
So two more questions before I let you go, because I know you're a busy guy. You got to get training and get to the wrestling ring
Of
and
course.
get to head hand, right?
Yeah. Come on.
Where can we catch you in the ring in the future? When's your next show?
Uh, um, August 28th, I'll be in Fort Worth, Texas for Lucha Brutal. I'll be there. And I may be in Metroplex Wrestling here soon, here in the next couple of weeks. I gotta take a look at my calendar here. Um, I think I'll be an All Star Pro in Bethany, Oklahoma, in a few weeks as well.
And is there any states that you want to go wrestle for, or anywhere that you would like to debut at?
Oh, I'd like to wrestle as many places as I can. Florida, Canada, the ones that come to mind is because I love visiting there, especially Florida. It's one of my favorite states to visit. Just going on vacation. Georgia. Um, let's see here, Louisiana. Just anywhere. I've been to Tennessee. I've been to Memphis, Tennessee as well. I'd like to be back uh, pretty soon.
And where can our listeners and your fans um, catch Thorne the Hunter on social media?
At Thorne The Hunter. That's all my social media handles: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I have all of it. It's all the same handle. Just Thorne The Hunter.
Thorne the Hunter.
Yeah, Thorne The Hunter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Thorne the Hunter, to join us right here on the Five Star Revolution podcast. It was my pleasure for having you on tonight. And you fans, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Five Star Revolution Podcast. Like our Facebook page, Five Star Revolution Podcast. We have more episodes to come on your way. Mr. Thorne the Hunter, you have a great night.
All right, thank you. You too.
Thanks.